Hi, I'm Mike Krause. Welcome to Devil's Advocate, and I'm filling in for John Caldera today, but we wanted to have a little chat with our Secretary of State, Wayne Williams. Wayne, how are you today?
Great, Mike. Thanks for having me on.
No, thanks for coming by.
And thanks for filling in for John.
No, you know what? It's your pleasure, believe me. Actually, this is actually a good opportunity because let's do a real quick Secretary of State 101, because some people might not know that the Secretary of State, you're one of the constitutional statewide offices in Colorado. So you don't work for anybody except the voter. You don't answer to the governor, thank goodness. And so the other ones would be Attorney General and Treasurer. But obviously a big part in what we want to talk about today is elections, but Secretary of State does a lot of other stuff. Give us your elevator pitch on what you do and why we have you.
So the Colorado State's office oversees a number of different areas. So a lot of that's in the business filing. And so if you have a business, you register it with the Colorado Secretary of State's office. We're about ready to cross the threshold of 700,000 businesses. We've added over 100,000 of those since I became Secretary of State just 3.5 years ago. We do that by making it easy for businesses to register, easy for them to file. We had a couple sitting in a field in rural Colorado that was told they couldn't close on a bank loan because their paperwork wasn't in order. They called our office. We answered the phone. We walked them through it. Sitting in a field, they took care of the filing. They were able to close on their loan. That's what we try to do with nonprofits. Nonprofits register with us.
Right.
So when they contact you and say, we love this cause, the money will go to this cause, you can look at our site and find out, well, lots of the money, or almost all, or virtually none of it actually goes to the particular site. Most of our charities in Colorado are absolutely awesome. They do a very good job. But you can find out that record at our office. If you're a notary public, you can do that. We've added free online training for our notaries, for bingo raffle for our nonprofits. We've added a free online filing service for them so they don't have to file in paper anymore. So we've done a lot of things to modernize it, make it easier for Colorado businesses, Colorado nonprofits. Then on the other side, we also oversee the elections process, working closely with our 64 county clerk and recorders across the state.
All right, so you oversee the broader elections, but we have these 64 counties where they have county clerks that oversee those local, they're in charge of those local elections under the umbrella of the Secretary of State. Is that fair?
It's mostly correct.
Mostly?
They're independently elected.
That's my specialty, being mostly correct. So.
I was one of them. I was elected representing El Paso County. So I know firsthand what's involved in that job. It's a critical part of our democratic republic, these local elected officials who have responsibility directly to the voters. And then we work to make sure that we provide support at the state level, that we give them the resources they need, and we work closely with them in seeking to improve the elections process.
Okay. And by the way, you also oversee the horde of lobbyists down at the Capitol, right?
The horde, as you describe it, far less than the 700,000 businesses or the several million registered voters. By the way, highest percentage of registered voters in America.
I just recently learned that. That's pretty interesting.
So, but yes, lobbyists also register with our office. Durable medical equipment. There are a host of small things that are in our office in terms of the resources. Most of it is on the business and nonprofit filing and on the election side.
Okay. One of the things we wanted to come talk to you about today was, if you believe the national press, Colorado is now a model state for elections. I mean, top tier. And this is for election security. And a lot of this goes back to a thing called risk limiting audits, right? And we can talk about that. And I'm sure there's a lot of really cool math behind it that we don't need to get into, right? But if you're an election, if you're a math guy, I'm sure you dig it. Give me the gist of what this audit was, why it was so unique, and how it ended up propelling Colorado to being a model state.
Let me start with where those sources are. The Center for American Progress, which is a left of center group, gave us the nation's highest rating in terms of election security. The Washington Post recently ran an article in which they labeled Colorado as the safest state in America to cast a vote. A lot of that is because of some changes that I've made as Secretary of State. So one of the first things we did is adopted a new voting system. Okay. A voting system that has a paper ballot record. Even if you come in and use an accessible device to cast your ballot, it's going to print out a paper ballot that is the actual record of your vote. That paper ballot then allows us to conduct the nation's first risk limiting audit. It is where you examine specific ballots. So you go and tell the clerk, pull out box 4 and then pull out the 30-second ballot in that box, and we're going to compare it to the cast vote record of the voting machine to ensure that that tabulation was conducted accurately. So we can tell you in Colorado that nobody hacked a vote, nobody changed a single vote, whether they're in Russia or China or anywhere else in the world or in the United States. And that level of assurance that a voter has that their vote was counted accurately is something no other state can say with the same level of assurance. There are other states that do audits, and Colorado did audits previously as well, but they don't have the whole universe of all the ballots that are out there, and they don't select them scientifically based on a random seed generator and the number of ballots increasing with the closeness of the election so that you can be assured it's accurate. New Mexico probably comes closest. They choose specific precincts to audit, but they don't have that capability to review the individual ballot and how that was interpreted by the voting machine. That's a level of assurance no other state has, and I'm proud of the work that our clerk and recorders and our office has done in implementing this new process.
So it's not random. So it's no longer random. And conversely to what you said, that the closer an election is, the more ballots you would look at to come up with that statistical probability. And that also means that the more obvious an election is, the less energy you have, and the fewer ballots you would have to pick, because obviously somebody, you know who won.
That's correct. That's correct. In a landslide, you don't have to pull as many ballots to review, so it's actually more cost effective to do it, and it puts the resources where you need them. You need the resources when it's a really close election, and you want to make sure you got it right. And not just that you got it right, but that the people can be confident that their votes were counted accurately. And that makes a big difference in terms of your willingness to vote. Right. If you know your vote's going to be counted, if you know your vote's going to be counted accurately, you're more likely to vote. Colorado has been in the top 5 in presidential election turnout for the last few years. The other states border Canada. There's nothing else to do in November. Right. Colorado, we have great things to do. But we still have a high percentage of people who are voting and participating in the process. That kind of leads then to the primary election that's coming up as well.
Primary election coming up in June. Yes.
So primary ballots go out or went out on Monday, June 4th. Citizens will receive those across the state, and a different mix of citizens than in the past because of a voter initiated change by 53%. Unaffiliated voters will now have the opportunity to vote in a primary, not in both. They may choose either the Republican ballot or the Democratic ballot. In most cases, the exception being where they pre-selected which they wanted to vote in, they will get both ballots. They will then need to choose one or the other to return. And we've been very engaged in trying to get out the word that you have to pick one or the other, because if you return and vote both of them, neither of them counts. And we want to make sure that no one involuntarily or inadvertently disenfranchises themselves by returning 2 ballots when it was only one that can be counted.
Okay, and there actually was the opportunity, if you were unaffiliated, you could go in and you could request a specific ballot, right? But that deadline is come and gone. Is that right? For
the most part, that deadline has come and gone because at this point you've been mailed the 2 ballots already, and so there's no reason to do that. So we have not been telling people about that anymore because that deadline has come and gone, as you've said. Okay. But you did get 2 ballots in the mail if you're an unaffiliated voter. If you're an affiliated voter, you still got the ballot of the party of your affiliation.
Right.
But for the rest, which is a little over a third of Coloradans, they've received 2 ballots. They're looking at them. They see both a Democratic ballot and a Republican. And even if you really like a Democratic candidate for Attorney General because the Republican one is unopposed, and you like a Republican candidate for Treasurer or Governor, you cannot vote both ballots. You must pick either the Democratic ballot or the Republican ballot. You can return that one. That's the one that will count. And that way, you get to have a voice in what's said. You know, and in some places, you and I were talking beforehand, if you live in an area that is dominated by one party, you may want to have a role in choosing that party's nominees, even if you don't agree with all of the tenets of that party. Casting a vote as an unaffiliated voter does not affiliate you with the party, does not obligate you to vote for that party's candidates in November, as has always been the case in Colorado, you're still free once November comes around to vote for whomever you wish. And at that point, you can pick and choose, and you can pick a Republican for governor, a Democrat for Congress, a Republican for Secretary of State, or whatever combination you want to go with, because that right is still there. It's just in the primary where you must pick one or the other.
Okay. This, by the way, this is new territory, right? I mean, so we don't actually know how big a difference unaffiliated being able to vote in these primaries will make. In fact, I've talked to people who don't think it's really going to matter much. I've talked to people who think that this could swing elections that otherwise would have gone a different way. So who knows? But this idea of people being able to contact you and choose the ballot they want sent to them as an unaffiliated, that should be a bit of a gauge. So how many people actually requested a specific ballot and knew about this, by the way?
So we, with the support of the legislature, engaged in a public information campaign where we reached out to unaffiliated voters and let them know about the opportunities. First, when we did a survey, over half of them weren't aware they could even vote in the primary. So it was an education campaign with respect to that. Second, that they could choose. We had about 4% of the voters statewide who made an election saying, 4% of the unaffiliated voters statewide. 56% of them chose a Democratic ballot, about 38% chose a Republican, with the others choosing a minor party ballot, which really doesn't have an impact because there are very few or no contest in most of those instances.
And if you don't choose a minor party ballot, you're not going to get that minor party ballot, right?
That is correct. If you don't make that choice, you don't get it. If you do make the choice, but they cancel their primary, then you will still get both of the two major party ballots. So that was, we wanted to make sure no one was disenfranchised by that choice to say, well, send me a libertarian ballot, only to find out there was no libertarian
primary.
And so we wanted to make it easy for folks to do it. If you spoil a ballot, if you misplace it, if your dog eats your homework, as the old proverbial thing goes, you can still go into a clerk's office, get a ballot. You can vote at a voter service and polling center. They'll be open for a week and a half during the election. You can go into a clerk's office now and get a replacement ballot. And in many cases, actually just cast the ballot right there because that's where the voter service and polling center is.
Fantastic. All sounds pretty cut and dried. I guess your work is done for the year.
It's not done, but we have tried to make it as easy as possible for people to be able to participate in the process. It's one of the other reasons Colorado's gotten accolades. Not just that we have a fair process and an accurate process, but one that's easy for people to participate in.
Okay, and we're taping on the 31st of May. So ballots have been sent out?
Ballots go out on June 4th.
June 4th, okay.
So I was presuming we're airing it after that period, but if I'm wrong.
We probably will be airing right after June 4th.
So ballots should get there. If you don't have the ballot by that following weekend, on that Monday, I'd contact your county clerk and recorder. The other thing you can do is go to govotecolorado.com. That's something that's always good to do, particularly if you've moved, because at govotecolorado.com, you can change your address. You can do that. I moved 2 years ago right in the middle of the primary. So I had one ballot mailed to my old address. I then went, changed my address when I moved. I got the new ballot sent to me. You can only turn in one, but you have that opportunity to participate. So first, make sure the right mailing address is there. You can still update that even today, or even when this show airs, and they will send you a new ballot if necessary. And then you can also contact your county clerk. You can also go to govotecolorado.com and find out the status of your ballot.
Fantastic, Wayne. All right. Well, thanks very much. We appreciate you coming by. Stick around.